Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are looking at a very specific, and I think for a lot of us, a universally painful challenge, getting to the airport.
Especially in a high-stress, high-traffic place.
Exactly. So for you, our listener, we're really focusing on optimizing travel out of the San Bernardino area and, navigating the chaos of Southern California's big airports.
That's right. And we've got a pretty robust stack of sources here. They all focus on a single idea, really, that investing in a reliable professional airport transfer service can completely change the travel experience.
Yeah.
Because the core challenge in the Inland Empire, it isn't really the flight itself, it's the drive to get to the terminal.
And the sources aren't just, pitching a comfy ride. They're defining a really clear value proposition.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission today for this deep dive is to pull out the key mechanisms these services use, from logistics and tech to the customer experience, to eliminate stress, guarantee you get there on time, and deliver real value compared to the alternatives.
We're looking for the proof. The proof that this investment in convenience actually pays off, especially when you measure it in regained time and, frankly, reduced mental exhaustion.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're starting from a simple, kind of brutal premise that airport travel in SoCal is just filled with friction.
Absolutely.
You're dealing with aggressive traffic, crowded terminals, and I think most importantly, this constant uncertainty. So let's start with just the geography of it all.
Yeah, the map itself is the first problem.
For travelers starting out near San Bernardino, that journey to the airport, it often feels less like the start of a trip and more like, a tactical exercise.
A battle.
A battle, yeah. You're forced to fight Southern California gridlock before you even see a TSA agent.
And that frustration is just built into the geography of the region. The sources lay out the options for anyone in the Inland Empire, and the differences are just huge.
Right.
You have the local choice, which is Ontario International, ONT. That's the most convenient, sometimes just 20 minutes away. But that's really the exception.
That's the easy one. But the reality is, for most big domestic or international flights, you're forced to pick one of the big scary hubs.
Precisely. And that is where the whole calculation just shifts dramatically. Los Angeles International, LAX, is nearly 70 miles from San Bernardino.
70 miles.
And the sources all emphasize this is a draining journey because you're not just traveling 70 miles, you're traveling 70 miles through some of the densest, most unpredictable traffic in the entire country. That 70 miles can be 90 minutes one day and 3 hours the next.
And if you think you can just bypass LAX traffic by heading south,
you run right into John Wayne Airport, SNA, in Orange County. And while it might be closer on a map, the congestion on the 5 and the 405 means you are looking at a reliable hour to an hour and a half drive, minimum.
Wow.
And then there's Palm Springs International, PSP, for desert trips, which also requires a lot of planning. The common thread here is that all these drives, they take a real toll on your mental energy.
Which brings us back to what you're trying to buy with a professional service.
Yeah.
When you're facing a potentially hours-long drive to LAX, things like productivity and relaxation, they're not just nice-to-haves anymore.
No, they become critical.
They become critical commodities. You need to reclaim that time, and you absolutely need to get to that gate ready for your meeting or vacation, not completely exhausted from playing defense on the freeway.
That's the first great dividend, right? The elimination of that cognitive load. And that leads us directly into the benefits of choosing a professional service over, say, a rideshare or a big shuttle. It's the guarantee of service that matters most.
A guarantee sounds great, but how do they actually enforce that? I mean, how does a professional chauffeur manage traffic any better than an app like Waze or Google Maps on my phone?
That's a critical question, and the sources really clarify this. It all boils down to infrastructure. First, punctuality isn't a hope. It's an engineering problem they solve. Professional chauffeurs use dynamic monitoring.
What does that mean, dynamic monitoring?
It means they aren't just looking at traffic when they come to pick you up. They are linked into proprietary logistics software, and they're cross-referencing real-time FAA feeds for flight status.
So they're literally tracking your flight from the moment it leaves its last city, and they probably have dispatchers just focus on solving traffic problems before they even happen.
Exactly. They take on the entire logistical burden of uncertainty for you. If your flight's delayed, they know. If there's a surprise closure on the 10 freeway, they already have a different route mapped out. They handle it all.
That's the practical side. But let's talk about the other half, the full door-to-door service. I think a lot of us just accept that with a rideshare, you're going to have a long walk from some distant pickup zone, How do the sources emphasize the difference?
The sources really highlight this idea of curbside convenience versus terminal convenience. True door-to-door means getting rid of the two biggest hassles: parking, which is expensive and forces a long walk with bags,
Oh, the worst.
and the long, confusing walks through the giant airport terminals themselves.
Yeah, we need to really emphasize that specific pain point.
Absolutely. The sources paint a really clear picture of just the physical exhaustion. At a place like LAX, the walk from a remote rideshare zone can easily be 15 minutes.
15 minutes, easy.
Now try doing that with a luggage cart, dodging crowds, trying to keep your family together. A professional service meets you closer in designated, less chaotic zones that are reserved for licensed carriers.
And what about those crazy flight times? The super early or super late ones?
Availability is just non-negotiable. These professional services offer 24/7 coverage, and that's absolutely essential for those brutal 4 a.m. flights out of LAX or the late-night arrivals where you're just scrambling for a reliable ride.
Okay, but we can't ignore the luxury part.
Yeah.
This is the difference between just getting a ride and actually, enjoying the transit. What do the sources say about the vehicle itself?
Well, they transform the transit into a kind of temporary retreat. We're talking about highly maintained late model vehicles, luxury sedans, SUVs with, deep leather seating, advanced climate control, and really good noise isolation.
That's a big one.
It's huge. When you're stuck in SoCal gridlock for 90 minutes, being able to close that door and feel the freeway noise just drop away is a huge psychological asset.
So it's not just a car anymore. It becomes a functional private space, almost like a pre-flight lounge, but on wheels?
Precisely. And this is all delivered by a trained professional. The sources really stress that chauffeurs are licensed, background checked, courteous, and discreet. This is a regulated professional giving you consistent, reliable service. It's a level of professionalism that's very difficult to guarantee in the rideshare model.
And here's where the deep dive really gets interesting. The service isn't a blunt instrument. The sources make a strong case that the offerings are meticulously tailored to specific traveler needs. This is where the ROI really shines. Let's start with the business traveler.
For an executive, the primary focus is reclaiming lost time. A stressful commute is just wasted time. The private, quiet environment inside the vehicle is designed specifically to maximize productivity while you're on the move.
What specific features make that work possible? It's not just about being quiet. You need to be able to actually function.
Right. A lot of these fleet vehicles now have integrated high-speed Wi-Fi, which is crucial for secure calls or uploading big files. More than that, the sources mention the value of the noise isolation and the physical space. It lets an executive spread out materials, review a presentation, or make critical confidential calls without any disruption.
So they turn that 90-minute commute into a high-utility office block.
Yes. And when you think about an executive's hourly rate, getting 1 or 2 hours of focused, functional work done before a big meeting, that easily justifies the cost of the service. It's a calculated ROI.
Is. And there's the image, too. Arranging a professional pickup for clients or partners, it sends a powerful message. It says you're courteous, sophisticated, you pay attention to detail. It sets a professional tone before business even starts.
And of course, just avoiding the frantic, time-wasting ritual of finding and paying for airport parking is itself invaluable.
Okay, now let's pivot to the other extreme. Families and groups. Anyone who's traveled with kids knows the logistics are 10 times harder, especially somewhere like LAX.
Oh, yeah. For families, the focus shifts completely from productivity to safety and simplified logistics. The sheer choice of vehicle is key here. They offer larger SUVs, spacious vans, even sprinter vans. That ensures everyone can stay together in one vehicle.
Which is a massive advantage over trying to coordinate, 2 or 3 different rideshares?
A huge advantage. And the sources mention specific practical aids that really help. First, the generous luggage capacity is crucial for all the extra stuffed strollers, playpens, multiple car seats.
All the gear.
All the gear. And more importantly, the chauffeurs are trained to actively help with loading and unloading all of it, which is a significant relief for parents trying to manage small children.
And I have to imagine the safety aspect, especially with kids, is a huge differentiator compared to just a random driver.
It's a major point of emphasis in the source material. These are licensed, insured drivers, and crucially, they can often provide certified car seats that are properly installed if you request them. That safety and accountability is essential for families.
And what about on arrival? For groups, that's often where everything just falls apart in a busy terminal.
Right, and the service is designed for that stress-free arrival. After hours on a plane, the last thing you want is that scavenger hunt for your ride.
Oh, for sure.
So the service provides a personalized meet and greet, often right at baggage claim, or a designated, easy-to-find pickup zone.
So the chauffeur is waiting there with a sign, and because they're monitoring the flight, they're there exactly when you walk out, even if the flight was an hour late.
Exactly. That constancy is key. And the most praised detail, especially after a long international flight, is the luggage assistance. The traveler literally doesn't have to lift a finger. It makes the transition from plane seat to luxury vehicle just seamless.
Okay, that high level of service is compelling, but let's address the elephant in the room, cost. The sticker price is higher. For a listener who values last-minute flexibility, how do the sources argue that the limo expense outweighs just pulling up an app 5 minutes before you walk out the door?
That's the heart of the value proposition. Rideshares absolutely win on immediate last-minute flexibility and just user familiarity. But the sources argue that this convenience comes with a high hidden cost, which is uncertainty and inconsistency.
Okay, give us the breakdown of that trade-off.
Let's start with reliability. A rideshare's reliability depends entirely on the individual driver, who might cancel on you or get lost. A limo service, because of its central dispatch and infrastructure, is guaranteed and proactive.
And professionalism.
Well, limo services hire and train chauffeurs for the specific high-end environment. Rideshares use unregulated drivers whose main job could be anything.
What about just the quality of the car itself?
Comfort in a rideshare is a lottery, right? You might get a perfect car, or you might get one that's not so clean or smells weird. Limo services guarantee a late-model luxury vehicle with all the features we talked about.
And safety, that's a big one the source material brings up.
Safety is a huge differentiator. Professional limo companies are licensed, heavily insured, and strictly regulated as commercial carriers. The sources suggest that the insurance and regulatory side of peer-to-peer rideshares can be inconsistent.
Especially regarding background checks.
Exactly. For families, that accountability is just invaluable.
And finally, let's circle back to cost, but for groups.
This is where it gets interesting. While the initial fare is higher, the group cost argument often flips the script.
How so?
If you're a family of 4 with 6 bags, you might need 2 rideshares or a much more expensive Uber XL and still not have enough luggage space. A single large SUV from a professional service fits everyone and everything comfortably in one trip, which often makes the per-person cost pretty reasonable for a vastly superior service.
So what this all really means is, the difference is a clear, quantifiable shift in value. You're moving the experience from a transactional, kind of risky thing, hoping your driver shows up, to a professional, guaranteed service where the provider takes on all the uncertainty.
Yes, it's the successful elimination of friction that justifies the price. They're selling you time, security, and predictability.
Before we close, let's give you some practical, actionable advice from the source material about booking. If you decide to make this upgrade for your travel, what are the steps to make sure it goes smoothly?
The advice is pretty consistent. First, book in advance. As soon as you have your flight details, book the car. That guarantees availability, especially during peak holiday times in SoCal.
And sharing flight info is key.
It's non-negotiable. That data is the lifeline for the whole dynamic monitoring system that ensures they're on time, even with delays.
And what about planning for those massive drives to LAX or SNA?
You have to plan appropriately for LAX traffic. The service will advise you, of course, but you have to understand that on that 70-mile route, allowing extra buffer time is essential. You want the chauffeur to feel comfortable, not rushed.
Right. And vehicle selection.
You have to pick the right vehicle for the mission. A sedan is fine for 1 or 2 people with a couple of bags, but you need to upgrade to an SUV for families or if you have bulky items like golf clubs. For bigger groups, you need a van.
Good point.
And finally, and this is crucial for arrivals, you need to confirm the specific designated limo pickup spot at the airport. It's almost always different from the general rideshare areas.
So to summarize the core conclusion here, ultimately, the greatest benefit of this kind of service, especially from the Inland Empire, is simply the value of peace of mind. Just knowing that a licensed chauffeur will arrive exactly when planned, help with every single bag, and get you there comfortably. It just changes the psychology of the entire trip.
That guaranteed certainty is what sets the right tone for the journey. It's the difference between showing up at the terminal already stressed out and arriving relaxed, focused, and ready for whatever is next.
So we'd encourage you, as you look at your next travel booking, to think about this. If the greatest stress of modern SoCal travel is all the uncertainty and friction, the chance of being late, getting lost, or dealing with an unreliable ride. How does the guaranteed reliability of a professional service change your perception of the entire journey?
Yeah.
Don't just consider the dollar cost of the service. Consider the actual measurable cost of the stress you avoid.
That avoided stress really is the true return on investment.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.